Hey guys, this is The Beginner's Guide. It's made by the same person who did the Stanley Parable, apparently. And I like that game, so I'm going to check this one out. From what I've seen, it's a very weird concept like usual. And it's going to be commentary from the faceless voice guy as usual. And we have controls, I guess.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide.
I got closed captions
My
on
name
so
is
you
Davey
can...
Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. Here. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here.
Alright.
So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them.
I feel
he
not
doesn't
needed
put them
to
onto the
commentary
internet,
at all.
he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com.
So maybe.
Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game.
Sounds
As
good.
Each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Okay. So basically, what this game's about is us working out what was in the mind of this guy, and then I guess we email an interpretation to the guy, and he emails us back. I doubt it though. I've got a gun. Alright. Light equals good usually,
this game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
I can shoot. No sound effects there. Reload? No reload.
It kind of looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets.
It's true, I just found it out.
But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
I mean, he did good design on the gun, that's about it.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
Oh, we did it. Okay, moving on. I mean, that's clearly scripted by him.
Universe from this room.
I'm actually enjoying this game because it's clearly he made the games, not someone else. blatant maze.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
No, don't do it. You bastard. I want to go back in. Screw you.
Or, if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
Yeah, that's right, I do. Alright. I'm assuming this way. And then it's this one. Yeah, take that. I do what I want. Alright, I'm lost again. Just gonna go back. Oh god, I'm already lost. Oh jeez. Yep. Not doing well, boys. Not doing well. Should not have ignored the choice to skip this labyrinth. There we go. Oh no, that's up with that end. Screw you, game. I dare you. Oh jeez. I think this is the right way. Nope. God damn it. Got my hand on the left wall, so I should find my way out eventually. Eventually being a very long word that can take forever. Oh man, I should have went back in. Oh jeez. This labyrinth is very labyrinthy. There we go. Made it out.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Okay, sure.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all.
By sacrificing
That
yourself, I'm
beam is
guessing?
powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature.
Oh, that's me, right?
If your body could stop the beam.
Yep, sure.
It's
Sacrifice
so much
yourself,
to
I
ask
get it.
For all of our lives. Would you do it?
Yeah, why
Would you
not?
give yourself?
Sure, why not? With that, and now you did.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then
What?
dying,
It's
is
crazy.
probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level.
Let me guess, you can
But
turn
when he
around and
first
exit?
compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Yeah, can't get that way. Alright. Whee! He gets into heaven. I get it. And you can see the labyrinth. That's cool. So you enter there,
The
go
beam
straight
causes
down.
you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is
Pretty gay as
technically a
mess.
glitch,
I looked it
but
up.
Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse.
Sure, if you
I
say
don't even
so.
know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his
So
brain.
there's no
he wants to do
doors
more
there.
of these really weird and
I'm just looking at
experimental
the-
designs.
'Cause I can.
So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions.
Oh, okay.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
So we're getting at, he didn't finish the game. And now we're in something. The past was behind there. Okay. I can't move there.
Yep.
Oh,
in
you
this
gotta go
game, you can
backwards.
only walk backwards.
Screw you. I guess I'm meant to be seeing like images and stuff.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope. It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't
Okay.
need anything more than that. Which to
Sure.
me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
So we're still in November 2008. This one where you can't see, you're meant to follow the road. You can't go off the road though, so you are now entering the spooky zone. Still can't leave the path.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
I feel I'm just gonna play this game all the way through then, I guess.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Okay.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
You would set me down. Like, the struggle's getting harder or
Once
some
you've been
shit.
slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Press enter to enter the door, I get it. Sex, staring at a beer for 3 hours, bunch of words. Normal game. The queen dusting her jewelry.
A room that's warm
You to surrender.
and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
You are got. Read the enemy's email, learn how to beat them.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get
there's a
there.
little window there. Can we leave this game now? I'm done. I'm finished. I'm leaving. There we go. Thank you. Now we're in January of next year. Ready, set, fish. Okay. Doop-de-doo. I'm guessing they're going to say at the end Coda killed himself or something like that. Not that he just
Well, this
finished
is
making
new
games.
for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Oh, the smoke.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again
1,
soon.
2, 3.
We're going to see it a lot.
Time-based escape puzzles, I'm guessing. Nothing really happening
So
there.
that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. All right, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
So we're saying they made the first puzzle and then you want to stop making from there. It's like going to connect it into all of
How
this.
about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic
You can tell
element.
those are just JPEG in the
Either
background
way,
over
I
there.
think that the point is the same. Is that most of the time you don't
Or,
get
you know,
to
not
know what
actually
you're
great
missing,
things.
or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
And so we're in the same game, and now we're going back to this stupid thing, which you can't go. Oh, you can go backwards. It's just a dead end. Alright. You are now entering. Oh, now extra.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in.
I
Some
doubt he
larger
was
meaning
thinking
that
that.
we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them.
This seems to keep
And once we
on.
have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Sure thing, voice in my head. I believe in you. Oh, yeah. Great and lovely desert. Descent. Not desert. Although this is a big wide area. so it's clearly a desert. And there's one
Let's
thing,
talk about video
he's
game
using the same
development for
engine.
a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for
And
game
he's using the
development.
Half-Life engine, I can tell that. Specifically the Half-Life 2 engine.
To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
Oh, you can't surf. Alright, fine. Let's just go down to the thing at the bottom there. Dush, dush, dush. Dush. But yeah. Oh, there's glass there, apparently. It goes all the way around. Not sure why it has a light source there, but why not? And for some reason, sunlight. Boop-a-doo. Eerie noises, scratches, sounds of people walking. Oh, I don't want to be in a jail cell. How do you do this? No, no, we're going in an elevator to a different jail cell. No, no, you're not going that way. In this jail cell, got it.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
Oh, okay.
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
Apparently empty boxes are playable. I didn't know that. Three dots again.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time.
Doesn't
There's
know why there's
still
smoke
no
on the
clear
ground though.
indication of what makes this
Like,
puzzle so
as a
special
game
that
developer,
Coda
I
is going
doubt
to
he would have
return
thought
to
it
it
had
over
this
and over.
smoke.
But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
What about the three dots, man? You gotta talk about the three dots. Honestly, I noticed the three dots. Everyone else should notice the three dots. You meant to talk about the three dots. I looked at them enough times. Honest, read. Speak, listen. Like people.
Here,
And
Coda
you're in
begins
jail.
using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities.
Yes,
Use the
there's
1, 2,
normal
3 buttons on
persons.
your keyboard to respond.
Did you come from above? great. Oh, I don't get to talk anymore. Okay, I see how it is. Doop-de-doop-de. Oh, it's looping. It's looping. Again, as a game developer, he would not have known how to do that. No, I've been here the entire time. Get it? I don't.
It's a
Bunch
lamp
of doors.
Okay,
what meant to
I
be
can't tell you
carrying
quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out.
What about the 3 dots?
I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now
Honestly,
he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work
I think he spent a lot of time building this
He wants a
lamppost. He really likes the
destination.
lamppost.
which is what this lamppost
And
is.
they really like
It's
the
a
puzzle, so he wanted
destination.
the puzzle.
We're gonna see it in the work as well. His games are just gonna become a lot more cohesive,
At least we got a
lot
jump
more
button
fully
now.
developed, with more of a clear idea behind them.
He didn't even tell
And
us
as
we
we
had a jump
go,
button.
That idea will get
In
clearer.
the first few games there
and
wasn't a
clearer
jump button,
and
now there is. Nothing that cool. Can we move on now? Yep, thanks buddy. Chop chop. Witcha! We're in April, so it's been 3 months. Game is connected to internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. Notes, I tell ya! Notes! Ooh, dope, dope. Nice room, not. Oh, that's a bit mean. Jeez, now we're going to talk about
So
internet
first
piracy
up, I'm
and
sure you
bullying,
can deduce
hey?
this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda.
Yeah.
This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect,
was
I think I
supposed to
was
make you
probably a
sad.
bit too
That's a
bushy,
lie.
trying to get his attention. I was over enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
Balls.
Feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them.
I must read them all!
Either way, to me they convey a
Brezhnev.
sense of loneliness.
Okay, that's a lot.
I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way
That's
to
what's
express
uploaded.
them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
Can I type yet? Nope.
But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked
Sales.
Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And
Refuse
then
to
I feel less
believe.
lonely too.
Butt ass butt. I need to go to the freaking bathroom. Senpai, notice me. I refuse. Okay. Do we have the enter button? Nope. No, just seeing if that still worked. but you're the person who made it, apparently. Alright, I've got tired of reading everything on notes. And I'm not going to turn back. How dare you, random note. I don't want to jump down there. Not yet, anyway. Suppose it's saying you can stay on the path or not stay on the path. And there's a bunch of notes over there which you'll never get to read because you can't jump that far. Unless, you know. Yeah. I haven't even been reading notes, honestly, note. I just want to get a closer look at the picture. Now again, as a game developer, I doubt he would have known how to, because he would have had to make that dot painting, and that would have taken a shit ton of time, considering. Apparently cabbage is our nation. Cabbage nation! Okay, good job. It's weird that some of them are in the ground, some of them above the ground. It's all weird. That's a lie. How dare you say you beat the game?
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle
can't
means.
jump over.
Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Why does he think this is a hard puzzle? Second door went open. Developer, answer please.
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here.
Whatever.
To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
Get it? How do you leave notes? I was at the very end. And there are a bunch of typewriters in the lamp. Typewriters aren't typing. Bok bok. May June. How can something be built in May June? He's saying he built it over 2 months?